High Level is a full CRM and marketing platform, and I've used some of the best in the SaaS industry. And we are live from LinkedIn, YouTube. We don't have Facebook. We've got Twitch, X, Instagram, as well as our guests, YouTube and LinkedIn, who you're going to get to meet here in just a moment. But of course, if you're tuning in, this conversation is all about you. So make sure that you're talking to us in the comments. And if you comment throughout the show, we will put those up on the screen. So let us know. Where are you tuning in from? What is it that you do? What questions, thoughts, ideas do you have about whatever we're talking about? And we will get into it tonight. But before we do, I have to give a couple plugs to a couple brands, one being High Level. High Level is a brand that we work with, and we use their tools. So I'm going to turn my space heater off here. It's probably like noisy in the background. But we've used High Level from the very beginning. At first, I was on HubSpot, and then this was very early on when Reveting started. I was still working full time, and I was trying not to spend too much money. But as I scaled, I learned that it was going to start charging me. And then when it wanted, I think it was like $300 some for a dedicated IP just to send some emails, I was like, whoa. I need to look around. And I did. And I found this new tool, High Level, and I started using it and I love it. And when I got it, it was only $97 a month, and it still is $97 a month. You get 3 accounts when you sign up, and I can't speak higher of it. It does all the things you need. It has automations, marketing, email. You can build a website on there. It's your CRM. If you have any questions about it, let me know. I am an affiliate, so you can just scan that QR code. Or if you're listening on podcast, just go to reveting.com/high level for a 30-day free trial on my affiliate link. Other than that, we are producing this show tonight from StreamYard. And I'm also a StreamYard affiliate. So StreamYard it's a preferred LinkedIn vendor. So unlike Facebook, LinkedIn doesn't have the built-in live stream capabilities for a creator to just go click, go live, and actually go live. So they have a list of preferred third-party vendors that they want you working with. And StreamYard is one of them. And it's one of the more budget-friendly ones, which as a small startup is very important. There are some that get quite pricey on there, but Restream and StreamYard are some of the more, budget-friendly options. But we like StreamYard because it allows us to be super creative. We can add these overlays. We played the video. We've got a lot of stuff going on. We're connecting to multiple channels, and we can pull up comments. So again, if you're tuning in, I see there's at least 4 of you on YouTube. Some of you are on LinkedIn. Let us know where you're tuning in from. It's a busy night. I think we're competing maybe with the USA game. So yeah, little competition there, but that's okay, because the power of this show and the shows that we do at Reveting is that this is the recording, and we take this and we repurpose it to podcast, short form videos, so it has a longer lifetime value. So let's get into it. If you want to try StreamYard and go live by yourself, you can do it. And all you got to do is scan that QR code. If you'd like, I'd love to help you get set up. Otherwise, if you want to have someone do it for you, go to reveting.com and we will help you with your own show. So yeah, let's get into it tonight. I want to bring in these guests and have an excellent show. Welcome to the show. We have Syeda and Erin. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get right into it. And again, I want to remind the audience, I see 13 of you now on YouTube, 15. Let us know where you're tuning in from. This conversation is for you. What do you do for a living? We want to make it relevant for you. But in the meantime, let's introduce you to these guests. Syeda, could you kick us off by telling us your full life story from birth to what brought you to now?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
So my name is Syeda, and basically I'm from Pakistan. I was born in Pakistan, and almost 12, 15 years ago, I moved to Canada. And in Pakistan, I did my master's in international relations and also English. When I moved to, I was working as an editor in the newspaper, the Frontier Post. And from there, I was working from home. And as a student, I started writing for newspapers and all, and that led me to explore internet world as well. I started learning about the internet. I remember nobody believed that anybody can work from internet in those times. It's like almost 25, 20 years ago. It's really, really long. And when I moved to Canada, I started thinking, okay, what to do for a living. And I was already, very uh, like I could use internet a lot in an easier way than in comparison to what other people could find. And I started just working on internet. I've always worked on internet. I have like a lot of experience related on Amazon. I've been on Amazon for 10 years as a seller myself. I have my company Self Canada, and I have several brands on Amazon as well. Yeah.
Incredible. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate that. Um, and you have quite an extensive background and diverse background. So, like, born and raised in Pakistan, but now in Canada, and you have Self Canada.
Yeah.
So cool. Thank you for being here on WinsDay. Looking forward to learning more from you. And Erin, could you do the same? Could you give us a brief introduction of yourself from birth to what brought you to now?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm located in Maryland, and my background began with an engineering degree. I earned my engineering degree from the University of Maryland and worked in that field in project management and in the structural steel industry as a civil engineer for about a decade. And at the time, I had a very young family, and I had entrepreneurial aspirations. And based on a lot of things that changed in my industry, I ended up launching my own fine jewelry brand. I originally launched it on Etsy, which Etsy at that time was very different than it is now. And I continued to grow that business and grew to a very successful e-commerce brand, where then I went on to launch my flagship website and continue to grow the brand. It evolved from handmade into design and cast with the mission of really supporting other American-made businesses. So as a fine jewelry maker, I decided to keep that here, the production here in the United States. And the jewelry line itself was very sentimental, and it's geared towards families and moms, and reflected a lot of my own life and things that had happened in my life. And then when COVID hit, like many people that were small business owners, it's quite disruptive. But I also ended up going through a medical crisis. And at that time, because I had built success within my own brand, I had worked with other small business owners that had an interest in learning from me. And I am a huge advocate for small business owners. I've been twice down on Capitol Hill speaking with lawmakers about small business issues through a leadership organization that I'm a part of, really advocating for the needs of small businesses. So I knew that was my future, working directly with founders and entrepreneurs and organizations that support small businesses. But I got really sick during COVID, and the very short version is I just got confirmation that I'm 4 years cancer free, but I went through a stage 3 and a stage 4 colon cancer diagnosis between 2020 and 2022. That was quite disruptive and horrific in every aspect of my life. And I knew if I was going to come out of that it was time to really pursue this work that I feel so passionately about, helping small business owners, because I had to navigate small business ownership while facing a very unexpected medical crisis. And a lot of small business owners are not prepared for that. You're not prepared for the difficulties that might lay ahead. We focus on growth, which is important, and we focus on a lot of other components, at the same time overlooking some of the foundational pieces that are really necessary for long-term success. And so I over the past several years, I've started working directly with other founders through my platform called Venture Project. And I work with organizations as well that work directly supporting founders and entrepreneurs to build strong businesses.
Wow, what an incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing that, and so grateful to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, all of that makes you super strong. You've gone through a lot. So, yeah, to have you here on WinsDay is a huge blessing, and I'm just super excited. So, let's get into these topics.
Great.
So, finding product market fit before you scale. I know both of you can talk on this topic extremely in depth. But Syeda, tonight, could you kick us off on it?
Yeah, sure. So I've done a certification from MIT as well on entrepreneurship, and one of the topics that were covered in that program specifically were product market fit. So the blueprint would be like something that you have to actually start with total finding TAM, total addressable market. So how do you find total addressable market for a product? There are three ways. Number one, top to bottom, from where you start with a bigger market, with a bigger industry, and then niche down. Second is bottom up. You find a problem, and then you start like a real problem, and then you start going upwards. And the third is that if people are spending some money on some product, how your product is going to help them save some money or is going to like improve what they already have. So these are the three methods. So what is basically your product market fit? Product market fit is the gap between an ideal customer persona and your offer. How are you going to finish this gap? How are you going to connect this gap is basically a product market fit. As an Amazon seller, usually there are different models on Amazon. So whenever somebody comes in and they want to like start Amazon, like there are different models: drop shipping model, wholesale model, private label. So product market fit usually fits in the private model, where you all have your own brand, you register a trademark, you have your own brand, and from there you start either having, some people are already manufacturers, they would just come up with a product, and then we have to tell them that you need to like make it a product market fit. Then there are surveys done. You have to talk to the real people who are using that product. You actually have to get into their brain. You might think you know everything about the product, but when you start talking to the people, you get to know that there are so many small things that actually can improve drastically the entire product. So a product market fit, if you have a good product market fit, it means you're going to have tremendous sales just by launching it. You won't have to do a lot of work to on marketing. Yes, you do have to, but the product is so good that people like you. Then there's a survey done where you ask people that for instance, if this product is out of your lab, how would you feel? Will you be okay with that? Will you say that no, it matters a bit? Some would say doesn't matter at all. So people who say doesn't matter at all, just don't listen to them, don't follow whatever they're saying. And people who say yes, it will matter, you need to ask them certain questions. Then there are surveys done. The more testing you do, the more better your product will become. So this is kind of an overview of how product market fit works.
Absolutely. What would be your take on all of this, Erin?
Well, I definitely agree. Validating your product and getting that feedback is really important. And the earlier you can do it, the better the more successful you're going to be, because you're able to refine your product or refine your service, whatever it is that you're offering, to what customers actually want. Oftentimes, it's not exactly what we have in mind as entrepreneurs and founders. And I know that's that's kind of the thread with all the topics we're talking about today, in my opinion. And as entrepreneurs, we sometimes just have tunnel vision. So it's important to actually find out what customers want, because that's the goal. The goal is you can't be your own customer. That's not going to build a successful business. You really need to find what the market needs, and that changes. And so the more you can learn that early on, the better you're going to be equipped for long-term success, because markets change. So you need to be able to constantly adapt and go through that process as your business evolves, the market evolves, what what's available, what's trendy. It depends on your industry, obviously, but having that ability to continue to adapt, get feedback, find out what customers want. That's how you build a successful long-term business.
100%. Yeah. I just put into the comments, I think product market fit seems to be the hardest part with startups.
Yes.
As a marketer, we can come in and we can implement all the tactics you would ever want.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't know your audience and you don't know your message, you don't have product market fit, then we're just going to be spinning our wheels and you're going to be wasting your money on marketing and hopefully not on advertisements, because that's how people and businesses waste a lot of money. So to sort of wrap up this topic, what would you both say would be some actionable advice for businesses who are in that position where they're spinning their wheels, they're hiring some agencies, or maybe they have an in-house team, but things just aren't catching on. They're just throwing spaghetti at the wall, but it's not sticking. What should they do, Erin?
Yeah, I think it's either your product or it's your target audience, right? So it's time to test both. If you feel very passionate about your particular audience, then you need to work through what it is that they actually want and find that gap between what you're offering and what they actually want. Maybe it's price point, maybe it's the product itself, or maybe you're really passionate about this product and it serves a different audience than you're targeting. So really having those conversations with potential customers, getting feedback, being open to it, constantly learning and getting that information. Because if you have a product that is great for one audience, but you're targeting a different audience, you're going to spin your wheels in marketing.
Definitely. Oh, it's definitely a hard thing, and it's something that brands should all consider before just throwing a particular tactic out the door. But
Yes.
let's move into our second topic, refining offers around customer demand and founder strengths. Can you kick us off on this one, Erin?
Sure. It's a natural, evolution of our first topic here. Often when a small business owner, founder, entrepreneur, whatever it is, when you are launching and you're in startup mode, or maybe you're creating a new offer in an existing business, we are very often emotionally tied to whatever it is we are creating and putting out into the world. And the old adage of build it and they will come is really just not true. So I work with founders directly using something like the Lean Business Model Canvas to go ahead and validate those ideas. But you need to figure out what makes you unique. So what is your unique value proposition that you're offering these clients? And it comes from a place of the intersection, I should say, the intersection of what you want to offer, what you're really good at offering. Again, it could be a service, it could be a product. And then lastly, what do people actually want to spend their money on, which is different than what people think they want. What are they going to spend money on? Because you may have conversations with potential customers or clients and they're like, that sounds amazing. Yeah, I would love to have that product, or I would love that service. But they wouldn't actually spend that amount of money on it, or they wouldn't, it's kind of a nice to have, but it's not really something that's solving a problem for them. And they're really never going to be a continued paying customer, because you want to build a customer base that really desires your product or service. So I think of it as three parts: finding that intersection between what you're good at as a founder, what you think you want to offer, and then what people actually want to pay for. I'm sorry, I hand talk a lot. It's the Italian.
I do too.
Okay.
But
I'm noticing I'm doing that.
I like that. That's a great way to kick off the topic. And as I hand it over to you, Syeda, could you do two things? Sort of like give us your actionable advice still on that last topic, which is like product market fit for those businesses who are just throwing spaghetti at the wall and not doing anything, but then also transitioning into offers and your thoughts around that. I know for me, when I think of offers, I think of Alex Hermosi's book, is it the $1 Million Offer? I listened to it on audio. But anyway, yeah, I digress. I'll find it and put it in the comments. But yeah, let us know, Syeda, what are your thoughts here?
Okay, it's about product market fit as I was mentioning about total addressable market. Then you have to get into the beachhead market. What's the beachhead market? You have to actually niche down to a specific, really specific group of people, which are your ideal customer persona or ideal customer profile. And then you have to make sure that you stick on that, because it's very easy to get distracted by, everything coming here and there, thinking that, okay, that looks more accessible, or that's a bigger gap and things like that. So you have to really, really stick on that beachhead problem that you're selecting. And this beachhead term actually comes from a military terminology that was when when a military attacks a beach, they're just going to conquer the entire beach, and from there they'll grow into further, even bigger areas. So similarly, when you start finding a problem, a pain point of your customer, you still really have to work on that. You have to develop the entire product around that product, around that product, and from there you can gradually grow into other domains or other audiences, like just expanding it into the other areas. So for people who ever want to start a new offer, it is extremely important, as Erin said, that it has to be something you understand and you like as well, because most of the times people would want to get into products that look trendy or are already having good sales. And this happens a lot with Amazon sellers, as like they would use softwares like Helium 10 and Jungle Scout, where they'll see there's a lot of traffic coming in, there are a lot of searches and a lot of sales. So they would just want to replicate that, get a generic product, put their trademark on it, and would want to sell it. And what would happen? They will not get any sale, despite the software is showing that there are a lot of sales happening and a lot of reviews. So you need to understand that even if there's a lot of sales on a product, it does not mean you can do that as well. It doesn't mean you are going to get those sales, because they have already captured the market. And there are some tools within Amazon Seller Central that do tell you that how much of the market share is already occupied for this particular product by how many brands. So a lot of people that get into Amazon are not aware of those tools. They can use that. Another interesting tool on Amazon is basically there's a beta version Amazon has just recently launched, which shows that which terms are being searched by people and the sales are not happening. So basically there is a market gap that you can find using that tool, and it's called unmet demand, something like that. And right now it's in USA, only available in USA. It's a beta version. So you can use that as well to see what is basically in like people are looking for it, but sales are not happening because they are not satisfied with whatever is already offered. So that's something you can use as an Amazon seller if you want to find a product that is you can improve, and you can just make it part of your profile. Coming to the next question, which was related to the offers. So see, basically, unless you are not going to understand in today's world, when we are talking about especially online selling, and I would specifically talk about Amazon, you have to understand the algorithms as well. Recent algorithm, Amazon's algorithm is A10, which is Cosmos. So the algorithm is intent based. Intent means algorithm knows what people are looking for. So whenever you're creating a listing, it has to show the intent. So that is why the listing has to be updated all the time. You cannot sit with one listing forever. If there's a different season, or if there's something trending in the news, you are supposed to get into the listing and update it as the intent changes, because that is going to drive more traffic to you. And it's extremely important that you're not supposed to drive traffic that would be for irrelevant keywords or wrong intent, because it's not going to convert into a sale. And Amazon's algorithm does notice that. For instance, you get traffic on your listing, and certain impressions come on the listing, but a sale does not happen. So it gives a wrong impression to the algorithm that, okay, there's something wrong either with the listing, or it's the incorrect intent, and it starts dropping down your listing. So you need to be aware of that as well, that you are actually targeting the correct intent. Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for sharing that. There was a lot there to unpack. And what I heard you say about product market fit in the beginning was that just because you have sales doesn't mean you have product market fit. And yeah, that's interesting. As someone who's like worked for pre-seed to Series C companies, it's like, oh, once we have some industry and some that have like, similar job titles and we see them purchasing over and over and over again, that means we have product market fit. But you're saying, no, that's not enough. But then also just in terms of an offer, like just redefining offers around customer demand and founder strengths, what would be the like one thing from all of that you would say people should focus on?
So right now, because I am more related towards online stuff and online brands and online presence, it's very important to understand the algorithms. And
Algorithm.
yes, all algorithms are different. Like LinkedIn's algorithm
you talked about the algorithm a lot. I didn't really hear about the offer. So like if the algorithm supports us and they get all those people, if the offer stinks, then don't you think people will just drop?
They work hand in hand. If your offer is good enough, but the algorithm is not supporting, or if the algorithm is supporting and offer is not good enough, they are not going to result in a sale. It's not going to generate a sale. So they both go hand in hand. You have to make sure that, for instance, on an Amazon platform, when you see several listings for the same product, you'll see some of them are having these Amazon choice tag on them. Some of them are having bestseller tags on them. Some of them are having deals. So all these things come together. They have to go hand in hand. You can't just rely on one thing. It's kind of, it's not a binary path. It's kind of more of a lot of different, paths connect towards getting a direction.
Yeah, great point. Do you want to wrap us up on this topic, Erin?
Sure. I was just going to speak to anyone that's looking to build more of a personal brand and not necessarily. I know we were talking a little bit about Amazon and looking for the next product that's selling well on Amazon, but for people who are building out more of a personal brand, whether it be a service business or a actual product business, I think the important distinction is asking yourself if you're building something that people are just going to buy, like say one time because it's trendy. That's not what you want when you're building out a brand, right? You want something that customers are going to value enough that they repeatedly want to spend money with you. You want them to recommend you, and you want it to be something that's profitable, because also if we're selling, we're focused on sales and growth, but you're not focusing on how profitable you are. That's not long-term success as a personal brand. So I just think people in the early stage, entrepreneurs and founders, you need to remember that the market is your customers, the market, they're constantly voting, and it's your job to really listen to what they're telling you. And so it's really important when you're building a brand, getting that feedback.
So I can add a point here if you want.
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so basically Slack is one of really popular things that is going on, and the strategy that they have used for product market fit has been really interesting. So how they work is basically discovery is the first phase, where a person discovers the product, and from there they actually start using it, and it's like an exploration. Then it becomes their habit, and the last phase is the mastery. So your product should, the way Erin is mentioning, so these are the phases for your offer to come again, like the customer should come again and again, that it should be part of their lifestyle. It should be their mindset. They should rather use your product's name instead of using, for instance, earlier people used to say search this on internet. Now people say Google it. So this is how the impact has to be to become a perfect product market fit and get those sales coming in over and over again without even thinking.
Absolutely, yes. Okay, this is a great transition point. Thank you both for touching on that topic. And we've got two more really great topics. So we're going to get into using LinkedIn to validate demand and build trust, and letting go of offers that don't drive profit. We'll get into those right after these brief messages.
This is Mike, also known as Clean with Mike on Twitter. Mike hired a virtual assistant from Cherry Assistant about 2 years ago. Now, he has a $50K per month business, fully managed by a remote operator in South Africa. His VA from South Africa does the following: closing inbound leads on the phone, Yelp and Google and Facebook, manages his CRM on Gulf High level, deals with rescheduling, cancellations, any issues, hires and manages the cleaners, and sends them daily reports and updates. Mike has a fully cash flowing business managed by a remote operator for only $8 an hour. You can also hire a US equivalent worker in the Philippines, South Africa, Latin America for a fraction of the cost with Cherry Assistant. Be like Mike and grow your business with offshore staff.
At Reviting, we help B2B founders, executives, brands turn their live streaming into a real revenue channel. One live stream turns into a podcast, it turns into a social clip, it turns into email content like a newsletter, and actual sales conversations. You get to have a lot of conversations with people when you have a podcast or a live stream like this. And if you want to be known, trusted, and remembered in your industry, without being online 24/7, worrying about your posting, this is what we do. Just head on over to reviting.com and let's build your show.
I want to give a quick testimonial for the Reviting team. I was really nervous about doing lives. They very much have helped me increase my reach and online presence. So thank you, Reviting.
I love what you and the team do. I've been picking up 50 followers a day just because that content is resonating so well. It's working across a lot of different channels for me.
One of the problems that we struggle with is getting our brand out there. Her team have been able to do for us is the idea of going live on LinkedIn and using that platform to its fullest extent through the way they're able to take the live event and break it down into bite-sized posts, video clips, and as well as the content within the posts themselves.
Awesome. Let's move into topic number 3, which is using LinkedIn to validate demand and build trust. Syeda, could you kick us off on this topic?
Yeah, sure. So LinkedIn, you need to optimize your portfolio for your audience. They should know what you're doing, and it should look like a straight answer to their question. In order to find if your profile is going to be, suitable for any audience, or you're trying to find a product market fit using LinkedIn, you are supposed to go into the search bar and look up for certain terms in the search bar. For example, you can look up for certain jobs that are related to the product, or you can check out the hashtags, check out what people are doing, try to find authorities. And your own profile should be an authority. And how do you become an authority? You become an authority by consistently demonstrating what you're good at, what you actually can do, rather than just a flashy words. Whenever you approach somebody, it should not be a sales, not a sales, approach. Like it shouldn't be salesy. It should be more of understanding the other person's problem and trying to do conversation. Always go into authorities and look into their comments and see what conversations are going on in the threads. Try to participate in them, try to answer or maybe even ask questions. Post polls in your own LinkedIn page, see what people answer, how do they see things, and that gives you a lot of direction on where you would want to go.
Yes, it sure does. I liked that you mentioned the comments. I'm all about the comments these days. How about you, Erin? What's your take? You're on LinkedIn, so using LinkedIn to validate demand and build trust.
Yeah, I think it's also important to, especially if you're building out a brand, to make sure you do have a business page on LinkedIn as well. It just builds credibility. Not that that should be your primary profile that you use and communicate with, but having that presence and having something, continual activity on the business profile, I think is also important. So I completely agree, though. You can't be reaching out, pitching and using it for a sales tool. It's really for connecting and seeing where there is maybe a need, and maybe you're using it to really understand what other pain points maybe your ideal client has. There's a lot of research, I think, that you can use LinkedIn for, and for the connections. Yeah, in my experience, though, it's important also, especially for people who are building out a brand, a personal brand, any service, product, to make sure you look legitimate on LinkedIn as well. If you're using it regularly, your personal profile, to make sure you have a business profile that also reflects.
Yeah, such a great point. I love all of these points. I'm all about company pages. As a live streamer on LinkedIn, I like company pages because you're able to gate your live on a company page. You cannot gate it on a personal page. Although the personal page, you can tend to get more impressions. So I do still go live on my personal page from time to time, more like build in public type stuff. And then on the company page, more like organized conversations like this, at least for live streaming. But I agree. And then just keeping the content up to date on the company page, but also like they want you commenting as your company page as well. So there, when you're commenting, there's like a little toggle of who you comment as, and you can comment as yourself or the company, and you should do both. You should find posts that are relevant to your audience, that would capture your audience, and engage there. You can see the impressions on your comments these days. And yeah, I mean, I just think there's so much that you can do on LinkedIn besides just send people cold DMs. You know, you can find your audience. They're probably making a post and they worked really hard on it. So you can go make them feel seen and heard just by leaving a comment on that post. And then let them know from there if you want that you're going to DM them. And then it's a warm DM, and then get it out of the DMs as fast as possible into a booked call. That's a strategy I like to follow, but yeah, not the cold DM.
Jessie, I have a question. You mentioned you like the gated feature of LinkedIn. Why is that? Like, don't you feel like everybody wants to share their content? They want to, let it out. Why do you like that?
Yeah, I hear you. Once we started gating this show on LinkedIn, the viewership went down because, of course, some people just don't want to share their email address. Even though it gives them the chance, they can, subscribe to marketing related content or not. They don't have to. But even still, so it's a great question. So we help a lot of businesses go live on LinkedIn, and we encourage them, if the goal is impressions, you should go live on a personal page, and you should not gate it. Your personal page will get a lot more viewers. But if you want high quality, bottom of the funnel, people who are willing to give you their email address, then do it on a company page. And I continue and have done it this year for years now. We never moved off of it once we started, because even though the viewership went down, I was able to build my own data. I was able to build my own newsletter list. And now I have, people who have consented to marketing who come to the show. So to me, it's been worth it. But yeah,
quality over quantity.
Quantity over quality, exactly. And sometimes the goal is impressions, especially when you're new. And I started the show on my personal page, and it got a lot more impressions and it got a lot more comments. But yeah, I was able to own my own audience, because when you're on LinkedIn or you're on any of these platforms, they own the audience. They can kick you off at any time. But if you're building your own email list, then you own that audience, and you can stay connected with them through email or other ways, any way you want. So yeah, I guess to me, it was worth it to build my email list.
Another question for Erin, if you allow me.
Yeah.
Erin, you mentioned research on LinkedIn. Can you give me an example? How would you do some research?
Well, if you are maybe looking for particular client base and seeing what they're talking about, seeing what kind of problems they are, either what they're sharing, or sometimes people use LinkedIn to talk about what problems they're facing in their career or their business, and possibly their personal life. So I think if you are really listening and paying attention to what people are talking about, it's another way, if you know your ideal client, obviously, to look at what they're talking about, what pain points they're having. And it's obviously a different space than, say, Facebook or Instagram. But if your clients are professionals or your B2B, it's a great place, I think, to garner that information. And I wanted to add also that as far as the gatekeeping, I guess it's not called gatekeeping.
Gated content.
Gated content. Yeah, sometimes awareness is more important but sometimes you really want to conversion, right? And so I guess that sounds like that's the difference there. And when you were talking about owning your own audience, not only can you get kicked off of these platforms, I've worked with founders who have been hacked on not LinkedIn, but other social media platforms that was pretty debilitating to their business for several months when they weren't able to run ads. And there's all of the, we all know there's scams, and sometimes really smart people accidentally click through and mistake something, and that happened. And so right before a holiday, when ads should have been running for holiday sales, their social media was down for almost 2 months. So yeah, it's important to build your own client list that is not reliant simply on the access you have on any of these platforms, including LinkedIn.
100%. Well, to wrap up this topic on using LinkedIn to validate demand and build trust, Syeda, is there anything you would suggest to the audience to close this out?
So authority, you have to be an authority. That is something that's not going to happen overnight. It takes a lot of time. So you have to be okay with starting basic roles. Most people would just come in and would want to be a founder, or they would want to be a director of something. But you have to actually work with those who are already in those industries, and you have to be open to learning all the time. Even when you become a founder, you should be always updating yourself, since social media and online world is a place which is really fast-paced because of AI specifically now. So you have to keep up with everything all the time. Things are changing really fast. You have to understand how algorithms are working, how you can connect to your audience in different ways, what sources they are aware of and what sources you are aware of they are two different things. So you have to make that connection as well.
Yes, 100%. Such great points. Well, let's move into our final topic, which is letting go of offers that don't drive profit. This can be really hard, and it can be the reason many businesses go under. So yeah, could you talk to us a little bit about this, Erin?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the core pieces of work that I focus on with founders or entrepreneurs. It's really an emotional connection that we have. Often we launch a business, it's like our child. People feel so emotionally connected to it, and that's okay and that's normal. But you have to have the understanding and the awareness that this is a business that you are trying to grow and create a profitable, successful long-term business. Then that looks very different than people that sometimes launch a business and maybe it's a hobby and they just want to make a little bit of income on the side. But if you're really building a business that has a strong foundation, you have to pay attention to what is driving profit and what is not driving profit. And I think one of the hardest things that founders ever do is not thinking of the next idea. We always have a lot of great ideas. We are wired to be creative, all humans, whether people think they're creative or not, right? We all have our own version of creativity. But the hardest thing is not thinking of the next idea. It's letting go of something that you really love and you're really attached to, but customers don't want. And it's hard, but that's part of the process. And if you look at any successful large brand or small brand, they start somewhere and there have been evolutions, and they have had to let go of products that they thought were an amazing idea, or their business started as a completely different product or service than where they are now as a successful brand. So I think a few things that you can ask yourself, like if you're emotionally attached to what you're offering, but it's not actually driving profit. You might say to yourself that you love this, you love making it, you love offering it, whatever it is, you love sourcing it. But if the customers are saying they don't really need it or they don't really want it, you're having two different conversations. And that is where a lot of failure lies. Obviously, there's other components. There's marketing and finding the right customers. Maybe it's a different customer base. But it's important to be honest with yourself and try not to just have this emotional attachment. And as an engineer, I think of it through this same lens that problem solving and strategy of an engineer. When an engineer is designing something, if it isn't working, they redesign it, you improve it. Engineers are constantly improving on their product or their design, I should say, not product. They're constantly needing to improve because they need it to work. They need it to be strong. They need it to be efficient. They need all of these components. And so if your product or service that you've created is not accomplishing what your goal is, it's time to let it go, maybe reimagine it. Maybe you're not just throwing it away and coming up with a whole new business line. Maybe it's time for a big pivot or a big evolution. And I think you can naturally ask yourself 3 questions. So 1, does the customer really want it? Are you really getting the feedback or sales that people actually want this? Second is it profitable? So if people want it, but you're not making any money on it, then you're either offering the wrong product or it's priced incorrectly, or profits being eaten away in other areas that you have to pay attention to. And last, does it fit your bigger vision for your business? So if it's profitable and people want it, but you hate working in this arena, or especially because sometimes I work with creative business owners that are making things. So for example, I've taught with the American Craft Council, and that's a lot of makers that are brands, that are maker brands. If it's something that you're creating, but you hate doing it, what does that look like? Maybe someone else needs to manufacture it and you need to price it accordingly, or it's time to evolve. So I really encourage all founders and entrepreneurs to early on, but it's never too late to stop and think about what you're offering, what customers want, and is it actually profitable so you can build a successful business?
Is it actually profitable? What a great question. Yes. Oh, man. Well, what's your take on all of that before I dive in, Syeda?
So we need to understand why the offer is not working. Is it because of serviceable, obtainable market, or is it because of serviceable, addressable market? Is it because you have jumped into a hobby market, or is it because you are not understanding the data? You have to identify the reason why is it happening in the first place. Once you have identified and you're 100% sure that you have done all the research, you have done all the tests and still not working, then yes, you should give up on that. But there are huge ideas in this world, huge companies, including Amazon, which did not work for 10 years. And now look at it. It's working, it's reworking. So you have to identify why is it not working in the first place. So in the space like technology, when everything is so new, so alien to most of the people, you have to look into a lot of things before giving up on anything. But as Erin said, once you are sure that you just jumped into a hobby market, which was a hobby of some, people that were just, doing it because they wanted to do it for fun, and there's no growth in it, and there's no retention, and you won't see people coming back buying it, then of course you have to, before giving up on that idea again, there are touch points. The first touch point is usually free, which is like discovery phase. The second is when you are just, looking if they are willing to pay something, and then you keep advancing the price. So if you have also included those and still it's not working, then of course it's something to don't think too much about it, and don't be attached too much on it. Have empirical evidence, see what the data is saying. So be aware of that.
Yeah, don't be too attached to it. I love that. Such a great topic. Yeah. Anything else to close us off? Yeah.
I was just going to say, I do agree. You don't want to give up too quickly. But it would be amazing if we could all be Jeff Bezos and build Amazon. And for a lot of business owners that either don't have that, they're not that as committed to their vision as he was when he launched Amazon. It's learning to cut your losses a little bit too, but that doesn't mean totally giving up. But sometimes it does mean pivoting. And so maybe you fell into a creative market and that's not it, but maybe you could be a supplier for that market. I mean, so there's still ways to create a business around your starting point often, but yeah, being really honest with yourself about the data points, and customer demand and profitability.
Yeah, listening to what the customers say, because they will tell you. It might not be directly, but you'll hear it one way or another.
I can't hear.
Can you hear me, Syeda?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I don't know why you can't hear me, Erin. Maybe let me check. Audience, can you hear me? We can put into the private chat just so she knows, but I am checking my audio. Yeah, it's testing. Okay. We can hear you. Erica, I think she means Erin. We
Oh,
hear
sorry.
you,
Yep.
Erin. Sayada hears me. Maybe log out and back in. In the meantime, let's transition to the next segment, which is the Guru of the Week. The Guru of the Week. Ooh, ooh. The Guru of the Week. Ooh. All right. So in this segment, we want to know who you follow on LinkedIn or any of the platforms and why they inspire you. So Sayada, could you tell us about your Guru of the Week?
Yeah, so there's a channel on YouTube which is called as Essentia Foundation. So I'm a person who is very much into quantum physics as well. I like a lot learning about quantum physics and the cosmology and all that. So, and it's a great YouTube channel. It has a lot of physicists from all over the world that would talk about things that are not mainstream media doesn't, mainstream science doesn't like those conversations because they are related to consciousness and metaphysical space, which science does not like too much because they cannot measure it, there's no data, but there's more of the philosophy. So there are a lot of scientists and really ideas that make me understand that everything you see is not real and there's a lot that is unseen and controls most of our world. For instance, an easy example would be that 5% of this universe is matter and everything else is dark matter and dark energy. We don't know what's dark matter, we don't know what's dark energy, so 95% is unknown. So how can we be so sure about things when we know only about 5%, and we only know that 5% is matter? We don't even know everything about matter. So that's one channel I really like. The way they do interviews, the way they bring in perspective, the way they explore ideas, the latest things that happen in physics. I love that.
Yeah, nice. I love that too. I love quantum physics myself. I think it's so interesting. But how about you, Erin? Could you tell us your Guru of the Week?
Yes, my guru of the week, who I followed for a very long time, is Sarah Blakely. You maybe have heard of her. She's the founder of Spanx. She has a fascinating story, in my opinion, as a young entrepreneur that didn't give up her idea, and she was turned away many, many times by manufacturers. And then she's gone on to start Sneaks is her latest, but she's so inspiring. And she really supports small business owners and inventors and creative entrepreneurs. So I would love her content. She's very funny. She's aspirational and inspirational. And I just think you can't go wrong following her content.
I agree. She has a really great story. I mean, you can just take it back to like the earlier days when she was like, I think trying to sell fax machines
That's right. Yeah.
and then she wanted a pair of pants that she wanted to wear a pair of white pants and didn't want you to see the underwear. So she took some nylons and cut off the legs. How creative.
Yes.
And then that's how Spanx was born, and she completely solved a problem there.
And I was going to say, and just like Syeda was saying about having, search to Google, people now say, do you have your Spanx on? Meaning any brand. It doesn't have to be the Spanx brand, right? It's become
A category.
vernacular around the
Yeah.
category. Yeah.
So cool. Well, before we leave, thank you both so much for sharing your Guru of the Week. We want to learn a little bit more about you in the next few minutes, just who it is you serve, how you serve them, and if they could be served by you, how do they reach you? Syeda?
So basically, I'm an Amazon mentor. Self Canada is my company. I have been working, as I mentioned in the beginning, for 10 years. I'm a seller on Amazon for 10 years. I have done a lot of reactivations for people who have been deactivated by Amazon. I have also made a settlement in small claims court Canada with Amazon. Like, I presented the case for my client, despite I don't have any specific law degrees. I have certifications, but not as a degree. So because I understood intellectual property a lot. So what I mean to say is, like, I have a lot of grip on Amazon space. Anything related to Amazon, be it starting Amazon. So there are different levels I teach. Level 1 is basically from account creation to first product launch, and then level 2 is the advanced one. You can enroll in those with me, or if you have any deactivation problems, you can do that. And I have another, recently I've just launched a tool which is CAI, which is compliance AI. So basically, whenever you're launching a product on Amazon, you have to do a lot of checks to make sure you're not violating any policy of related to Amazon or the marketplace you are about to launch in. For instance, in Canada, there are certain things you can sell, but you cannot sell them in USA. Certain things you can sell in USA, you cannot sell them in Canada, and a lot of patent related things and restricted product restrictions. So this tool, basically the basic one, gives you a check that you would just enter your product name or URL, and it will do the all checks for you and would just give it in just a minute that if this product is actually good for you to start on Amazon. And this is going to save a lot of money for people who just don't want to, pay for attorneys to do a patent check or trademark check, or from where, if this product needs a compliance documentation, how much would be the profit. So there's a lot that this basic tool can do. You can in order to get access of this tool, you can simply go on selfcanada.store, STORE. And if you want to contact me, my website is selfcanada.co. And I'm mostly on TikTok at Self Canada. I'm also on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. So you can contact me from anywhere.
Amazing. I'm on TikTok as well. I'll have to find you on there and all the other channels you mentioned. But this has been a really great episode. Thank you both so much for coming on. And thank you to everyone in the audience. I think they were a little quiet tonight. Maybe it's the USA game. Maybe it's the heat advisory. I don't know where else.
It's Canada Day in Canada. We are just about to have fireworks.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, yeah. And 4th of July is just about here as well. But I really appreciate both of you coming on, and I will see you backstage. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just add where everyone can find me as well?
Oh, did I not do both of those? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, we want to also know who it is you serve, how you serve them, and if they could be served by you, how do they reach you? Thank you for interrupting me.
Yes, no, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
No,
thank
please,
you for giving
thank
me
you.
the opportunity. So I serve entrepreneurs and founders, a lot of startup phase, but also in the growth phase. My specialty is really talking to you and working through as an advisor what's keeping you up at night. We go through entrepreneurial leadership, but we start with readiness and then learning to be profitable. So those are the components that I really work with founders on. I work one-on-one. I have one-on direct clients, and then I do partner with other organizations that work with and serve founders. So like I said, the American Craft Council, the Maryland Women's Business Development Center. So I love connecting with organizations that serve founders. And then I'm right now launching an American Business Profit Collective. So you can find me at the Venture Project. My website is theventurepro.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, all of those places. But yeah, I love connecting with founders to really dig in and figure out where they're struggling and solve the problems.
Well, I'm going to have to find you on Instagram and all those other channels as well. Yeah. And again, thank you for stopping me, because just, my head. I didn't fit that many things into it today, apparently. It's the end of the day. That I hope everyone enjoyed this Wednesday episode. Thank you both so much for coming on. I will see you backstage. Everyone else, we'll see you here same time, same place next week.